Great. Let me match your t-shirt game.
It's all about the back on this one. Liberator guy.
What up? Ryuji here. I'm out here with Joshua Entis. We're at the Animal Liberation Conference, and what we're going to talk about today is what Joshua has been really into lately, self-care. And this is a topic that you might not want to hear about. I certainly don't want to hear about it, but we kind of talk about our personal experiences, and it was actually a really cool conversation because as we were talking about it, I realized a lot of things about myself, and it really inspired me to look at my life differently and live out my life differently so that I can be a more effective advocate for the animals over the long term. So if that's something you want to learn more about, let's do this. I've actually been really inspired talking to you the past few days.
Yeah, me too. Likewise.
And thank you so much. Because I think you're so thoughtful about what you do, and I love when activists are thoughtful about what they do, and you've really kind of clearly defined what your goals are and what your niche is. You told me that you are trying to talk to activists about self-care, and that's kind of what you wanted to do because of your personal experiences.
Yeah.
Which really made me think like, hey, what am I specifically doing? But since now your thing is, talking about self-care, and I also know that you're very strategic. Like I love how we talked about how you're going to build your business. I don't know if that's one thing that you want to talk about. Like we don't have to talk about it here, but I just love kind of like that whole side of you where you just
top secret information.
You're just thoughtful about things, and I really love that. So why did you choose to enter this niche of self-care and specifically talking to activists about this topic?
Yeah, I think it's a great question because when we take a moment to understand what our niche is, like we were talking about the other day, I think when you lack intention, when you lack being laser focused, it just makes you just give less energy to everything that you're doing. So in regards to self-care becoming my niche, I feel like it was just presented to me. Like everything that I was saying, everything that I was doing, the people that I were communicating with was like, you just inspire me to take better care of myself. Your positive energy motivates me and uplifts me and makes me feel better. Just what you post online and how you take care of yourself, and that you want to try meditating and that you want to eat more kale and that you always love smoothie bowls. Like I was just, I guess, living by example without actually having picked my niche. But then watching a bunch of business stuff and Gary Vee, and you gotta get intentional and you gotta focus on something. And so I was like, you know what? I love talking about veganism to non-vegans. I love talking to activists about activism. But I also love helping people realize for themselves that there's so much more to their lives than they're actually experiencing because of the fact that we tend to neglect, like I said at the top, we tend to neglect ourselves because we are helpers trying to help individuals, but we neglect ourselves.
Yeah. And so one thing that popped to my mind while you were talking about that is something that you asked the crowd actually that it really made me think. You asked the crowds, who here feels like you're not doing enough for the animals? And almost everyone raised their hand, and I raised my hand. And I really do feel that way. I do feel like I'm not doing enough for the animals, and I actually completely relate to how everyone feels. I'm like, I don't know. But so what's been your experience with that, and what are your thoughts on that? Like, what would you say to someone who feels that way?
Yeah, I think it's so tough because when you become vegan, when you become an ethical vegan, because I was plant-based in the beginning. I thought I was vegan, but realized there was so much more to veganism than I thought. It wasn't just a diet choice, it was an ethical framework, an ideology. So when I realized I was an ethical vegan, I got super motivated, super energized. I had all this strength and power to go out and do activism full on, that I just went full on. But I didn't have a focus. I didn't take time to see what I was doing to my own body, what I was doing to my own mind. I just was like, I have to end this injustice now. And I don't think that's a bad thought to have. I think we should be wanting to end this injustice now. I think everyone agrees with that in this movement, that that's what our goal is. Total liberation, right now. But what I found was that kind of like in sales, I was in sales for a lot, it's like making tangible goals. Tangible goals is an easy way for us to create more balance in our life and to have more energy. When you have an untangible goal, like if I used to sell $100,000 of merchandise at this time and my goal was now $2 million, if I had this outlandish goal, then I was like, and I didn't get close to reaching it, I felt even worse about myself. And I'm not saying don't have this end big goal of total animal liberation. I just think that we have to be intentional. We have to stack the small wins. So we have to go out there and do what we can in this moment and be okay with that. And I told everyone in the audience today that who are sitting in these chairs. So if you're out there doing activism right now, taking a stand in solidarity with the animals, you are doing something to make this world a better place. You are doing that. You are doing something. There's a great quote by the Animals. I don't know if you've seen it on a t-shirt or a sweatshirt. It says, "Don't be sorry, do something." So if you are doing something, don't settle on that win, that success. Just be okay with the fact that you're doing something, and how can you do more? Because I said it in there too. It's that until we achieve total animal liberation, total liberation, we won't be doing enough. Because we have to achieve this goal. Injustice will still be happening. Oppression will still be happening. But we need to be okay with the fact that we are doing something. We're strong, and then how can we build? How can we build? So that's how I become positive about that. It's like, you know what? It's tough. I want to be doing more, but I'm doing something, and now it's about pushing myself to the limits.
Right, and let me know what you think, because I think that it's a two-part statement that you said, which is like be okay with it, but also push yourself at the same time. Well, one thing that I'm definitely wary of, and one of the reasons that, you know, like, because I never talk about self-care personally, even though I do believe in it, and I have done things in the past to really let go of past trauma and things like that, to really, you know, I think that one of the things that helps us as activists is if we're joyful and happy and that kind of thing. That way, like, it's funny, I take having fun really seriously. Like, you know, like when we hung out, like I will laugh super loud and I really try to have fun. And like in that moment I let loose, but also I take it really seriously, because for me, I was someone who didn't always know how to have fun. And so I actually had to learn that. And because I learned that, now I take it really seriously. And so I actually have like all these tricks to like how can I make myself have fun and that kind of thing. But I don't really talk about that because my fear is always that people will take that and then make excuses for not doing something else. And that, because
why are you having fun?
I so relate to that, but also, you know, and I do think that everyone should be self-aware about what everyone needs. But I know that for me, definitely in the past, I have used, I need to recharge as an excuse to procrastinate, for sure. And so I never want to send that message. But at the same time, I do think that we have to take care of ourselves. But it's that, and we push ourselves, if that makes sense.
No, it totally makes sense. And I think it's something that we should talk about, because I think complacency is awful. I think when we become complacent in this movement as activists, when we just like, I'm doing this action, I'm doing that action, and that's enough. I think it's for specific individuals that if that's all you can do right now with your time and with your space, if you're a single mother of 2 and have a job and are paying a mortgage and can only have time and space for one action a month, then do that. And then check in with yourself every month. Can I create time and space for another action? Can I post on social media at night? Can I leaflet? Can I do something by, you know, putting stickers or something on products in stores? It's not legal. I think it might be legal. Maybe stickering in stores. You didn't hear that from me, but you can always find different forms of activism to do that don't take such a mass amount of time. But I think that self-awareness, like you said, is so key. And when you are that self-aware enough to know that you're mentally exhausted, physically exhausted, or emotionally exhausted, not just lazy, when you're exhausted, then you need to take that time. But I think the key word is time. If you just take this open-ended Netflix binge for 2 weeks without giving yourself a time of, hey, I need 3 days to process this event and go through this on my own and recharge and go to the beach and get some smoothie bowls and eat some kale and whatnot, whatever you need to recharge yourself. Set some time so that you know, this is my time. Then after this, I'm gonna go back out there and test the waters again, see how I'm feeling, see if I'm recharged. Like I just took a month off. And part of me felt a little bit guilty in there, but I needed it because I was self-aware to know that when I went out to do actions, I wasn't giving my all. And we need to be giving our all when we're out there. When we're out there taking a stand, fighting against injustice, standing in solidarity with the animals, we gotta be giving as close to 100% as we can. Anything less is less. It's not enough. And it's so simple, I believe. I mean, it seems so difficult, but I think it's so simple, just with a small investment in yourself, a small morning routine, drinking more water, going to sleep a little bit earlier, maybe a little meditating. If you don't want to call it meditating, call it deep breathing in and out and focusing on yourself. Like whatever you want to call it, taking these little small bits of time for you, these small investments, the dividend is priceless.
And you're really making me think, like, that kind of blocking out time for it. Because to be honest, like it's funny, like before we came here, like I was always like watching your stuff, and I was like, what's this dude doing, like eating like smoothie bowls all day, like, you know? And now like actually like talking to you, like it's really inspiring me, because I'm like, I felt it, for example, like just last night actually, you know, like I barely slept throughout the entire conference, because I was up like every night after the conference, like editing videos for the next day and like this and that. And last night I was gonna put together a video of the action. And I was like, let me sit down and do this, and I just passed out like while I was importing my footage, and I was like, damn, like, and I went to bed, but I felt really guilty, because I was like, man, what am I doing? Like I should stay up and do this, but now I'm like, you know, I should just plan like the bigger picture, because I see this happening to me all the time, when it's like, you know, for me, I just hate taking time off, so I'm always like go. But then what ends up happening is, because I go, then I will be taking this like half-ass time off unintentionally when I don't want to. You know, it'll be like, oh, I'll pass out, and I don't want to pass out, but that is quote unquote my time off, when I could have just blocked off some time to be like, let me.
Absolutely. It's creating a routine.
Yeah.
It's creating a routine, and it's something I still work on every single week. I had an amazing self-care routine about 4 months ago that I was practicing, but then I did this Vipassana meditation and got thrown to another world, and getting back into the real world was such a shock to me, so I'm sort of rebuilding that self-care routine. But it's, like you said, always be pushing yourself, because we're gonna have to create mass change by creating a level of activism for us, or a level of work that pushes ourselves. As you saw yesterday with the mass action, like, activists were pushing themselves to the next level, challenging the systems. But if you make these small investments and schedule them in, if you give 30 minutes to yourself in the morning, set your alarm 30 minutes before, and make that 30 minutes about drinking water, stretching, meditating, or deep breathing, going on a run, listening to music, and you just make that 30 minutes, that's 30 minutes of time you're giving yourself for you, uninterrupted time for you. And that little 30 minutes is gonna be a small win, but that 30 minutes might turn into now a new, deeply forged hour-long morning routine that comes in there. And maybe throughout the day you have different triggers. You're like, wow, if I'm starting to yawn a lot, I'm gonna go take a little nap. Naps are awesome. I read this book called Rest, and it's really about taking rest.
I hate napping.
I know, I'm not a napper either, but lay down, deep breathe. If your body needs it, you will take a rest. If not, you're still laying down. You're giving yourself some stuff. And I think it's scheduling this stuff in and being okay with it. I know that you want to push yourself, and you're a hard worker, and you want to go, and that's what I want to do. But I'm realizing, and it may be specific to this movement, just because we experience trauma, secondary trauma, compassion fatigue, we witness the suffering of others, that it takes a huge toll on our mental and emotional well-being, and our physical well-being. So I'm just a big believer in resting that, and taking that time, even if it's only a half an hour a day, until you are self-aware enough to know that you need an hour. Because,
I see.
you know, there's 24 hours in a day. You're sleeping, let's say you're sleeping for 8. There's so much more time that you can still fit in an hour here and there for yourself.
And I guess it's going to be different for everyone, and that's what you were saying earlier about testing it and testing the waters and figuring it out for yourself. But one thing that I just realized this, like literally while we were shooting this video, which is that, you know, often I think that self-care can be taken as, well, do self-care, and it's taken as, well, do less. But actually, the way I'm interpreting it now is take time for yourself so that you can do more.
Absolutely.
That's the entire point.
It's the simple thing that you've probably all heard: fill your own cup up before you fill someone else's.
That like every time I fly is that oxygen mask thing.
Same thing, put your own mask on before you put someone else's. It's like, you have to take care of yourself. I'm reading another book called Trauma Stewardship right now, about how to care for yourself while caring for others. See that? Care for yourself while caring for others. We can care for others. We are helpers. We are caregivers. We are trying to end an oppressive system. We are taking a stand, and we are in solidarity with the animals, trying to end this injustice. So we are helpers. We are caregivers. But if we're not taking care of ourselves, like my battery example I was giving, we're going to be going at 50% battery, and how's that going to be out there fighting with the animals? Like when we're at 50% and we're like sluggish, I've tried to go to cubes and do outreach at 50% battery. I'm giving 50% of myself. That's not doing justice for the animals.
And it's so true, because like even for me, like I'm like, because it can also, for me personally, this is just personal, so I don't know if it'll even help anyone, but for me, I'm like, you know, when I'm not at 100%, it's still like it's not even that bad.
Yeah.
So I can keep going and going and going and going. But I do notice that at cubes, like there's a big difference. Like for example, one thing that I try to do before I go to a cube of truth is I try to have fun with my friends, and then I get there and I try to say hi to everyone and things like that to get myself in a social mood. So that when I approach people, I'm like, hey, what's up? And it's like I have a nice positive energy towards people, instead of like if I'm like go go go. Because for me, like when I work, and if I'm just like working for like several hours straight and then I go talk to you, I just have this really like intense like work mode energy, you know. And I'm just realizing like like it's true. Like if I don't take time for even like shooting videos, I'm like I can feel it. There's it's completely different. Like, you know, if you watch like a lot of my videos, some of them it's like when I'm just like go 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 and like my energy is just really intense.
Yeah.
But the other ones where I'm just like more relaxed, is just like more chill, and it just comes off a lot better.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I mean, you know how like anyone here watching and yourself, how amazing does it feel when you just had a day with friends, or a day sleeping in, resting, or a day eating your favorite food, and a day where you feel like the next day you can do anything? You know, how does that feel?
It's weird because to me now, like I'm still at that point where like I feel guilty for doing things like that.
Okay, gotcha.
I actually really do. You know, like I just
Why
hate
do you feel guilty?
Because I just feel like I could be doing something else instead.
Yeah.
Because the way that I personally challenged myself in my life, and something that really got me out of where I was to where I am now. I used to be like a really miserable, shy kid and really like antisocial and that kind of thing. And one of the things that really helped me is actually, you talked about it in your talk, which is, you know, every single thing that you do could be an investment in yourself.
Absolutely.
And so for me, at some point, like there are certain things like that, the way that you define minimalism, there's certain things that are going to help you in your life and certain things that are not going to help you. And for me, I went really hard and only allowing things in my life that help me, and then not doing things that don't help me. So that's when I started reading books. That's when I started meditating, eating healthier. That's when I started self-educating heavily, taking courses and things like that, cutting out negative friends and toxic relationships and things like that.
That's all self-care stuff.
Yeah, and I'm aware, and like, and I think, you know, that's, and by the way, like, literally because I've been doing all that, that's why I thrive in my activism. But at the same time, what I'm realizing literally now while having this conversation is that I applied the same exact mindset to activism, where it's like every single thing that I do in my life could either be helping animals or not.
Yeah.
And from that kind of perspective, I'm like, I just dread it. Like, you know, sometimes like my friends are like, hey, you want to go out for dinner? And I'm like, no. Or like I'll be out to dinner with some friends, or I'll be out hanging out, and like halfway through, like I just get this like weird like dark energy cloud over me, and like I don't feel like talking to anyone because I'm like, what am I doing here? Just like hanging out. Like I could be like editing a video at home. Like, you know, and I just hate it. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
This is where acceptance comes into play. Like this is all my personal experience and my personal belief.
Like, do you relate to that, by the way?
I do, 100%. I think that there's time. I did relate to it for the last 2 years, but really over the last 6 months, I've changed a lot and understood about this whole, that's why I called the talk sustainable activism. Sustaining our activism long term. Like, we're going to be in this fight for a while. You know, as much as we want to end it tomorrow, and I fight for ending it tomorrow, but we have the odds are that we'll be in it for a little. I want us all in it fighting at 100% as long as we need to be. I don't want people in it going full on and burning out in 3 years and never doing activism again, or 6 months, or a year. I've heard stories from this all around the world.
Right.
But I do myself feel at times, why am I hanging out with my friends over a kombucha talking about stuff? Why am I skydiving? Why am I trying to go paddleboard on the ocean, or lay on the beach? Like, why am I reading in the sand? Like, it's because what we are going up against is massive, and who we are fighting for, who we are fighting with, is beyond comprehension to most people. It's like, we've felt it, we see it, we understand their pain, we bear witness to their suffering. That's huge. That takes a huge toll on our mental, physical, and emotional well-being. So when that sucks that energy from us, we feel that anything else that we're doing isn't doing them justice. And I get that, I feel it. But what I'm starting to slowly work on, because I realized it about a year ago, is that a break is doing them more justice, doing the animals more justice. Because if I can accept the fact without guilt that I can go scuba dive for a day, that I could go sit on the beach on a swing and eat a smoothie bowl. I recently just did that in Mexico. It was super affordable to live in Mexico for a little, so I went there for a couple weeks and just chilled out. But when you could go on a walk and listen to your favorite album all the way through twice, when you can go call a friend, when you don't have to edit a video and you can get lost in a Netflix series that's not Cowspiracy, What the Hell, or Forks Over Knives. When you can accept the fact that that's okay and that actually is beneficial to all of your activism and your life, like you just as a human being going out and doing other things in activism, it's going to pay dividends for the rest of your life as well. When I accepted that fact, those rest days, those self-care or rest moments, whether it's 30 minutes here, 20 minutes there, became that much more pleasurable and enjoyable, but also more guilt-free.
Right.
Like, I'm so excited to go to my grandpa's house for the next 4 days to do nothing but go to some really good vegan restaurants and watch some of his, old movies on TV, and then spend 2 days in LA just hanging out with our rescued chickens, spending time with my little nephew and my family. Like, I'm so ready for that, guilt-free now, because I know what those 6 days are going to do for me. Because then I start a 3-month European trip, and I'm like, boom, but I'm ready. Like, I'm motivated, but I've accepted it. But it's taken me a while to get there.
Yep.
It's taken me 2 years to get there.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, no, makes sense. Yeah, you definitely inspired me to, like, just be self-aware and understand, and also like, really, the entire goal at the end of the day is to always push ourselves to do more. Like that's how I think about it. But definitely, you've inspired me to look at it in a way where it's like, because literally for me, I'm like, well, I don't want to take time off because that's less time.
Yeah.
But looking at it in a more holistic way and in a more self-aware, like for me, I'm like, I don't know if I want to take like 6 days off, but like I definitely think like, there are things that like I could fit in here and there and like really schedule it too. Like I think that's like the piece that would personally help me, because otherwise it's just going to be like half-ass.
And I don't think you need to take 6 days off if you work on the schedule now. Like, I mean, I hit burnout with no self-care, so I had to take drastic measures. Like, I had to really take some time off. Like, I took 16 days off after I burnt out because I couldn't physically do anything. I couldn't mentally do anything. But if I would have, what I'm doing now, built this morning routine, built this schedule, know how to take better care of myself, and put those in at little points throughout the day and throughout the week, that's how I think sustainable activism is going to work. And it's, like I said in my talk, about protecting your best asset to make an impact on this world. Your best asset is yourself. Everything that's you, what's up here, what's in here, your physical body, the individual, the mind, the heart that's going to go change the world needs to be taken care of. Else, how are you going to go change the world? And so when I look at it like that, protecting our asset, ourselves, that helps me be a little bit more guilt-free. That helps me get to a place when I'm more comfortable taking those days. And I'm not saying go on a Hawaiian vacation for 6 weeks every 8 weeks. I'm saying take time when you feel you need to take time. When there's some mental and physical erosion, when you're starting to be a little bit dark, when you're feeling a little bit darker or down, when you have that dark cloud above you, like you were saying, when you start feeling like you're unmotivated to talk to people, maybe you want someone else to go to the outreach so you don't have to. I mean, I got to that place as well. I'm like, hopefully someone else goes. When you start getting these triggers or these tells, that's the time that you need to take a little drastic measure and take that 1 day of uninterrupted rest. Maybe that 2 days, that 3 days.
It's weird because, like, you were just talking about that, like, one thing that I really felt, and this is something that I've been really I'm like, I should probably deal with this, is that there was a point where, like, for the longest time, I used to answer everyone. Like, every single person that DM'd me, I would answer everyone. And there was a point, and I'm super about it because I love when people hit me up and like ask me for advice, and it's like really flattering, and it's like I'm so happy that I'm able to support people.
Serving people as
I
well,
love serving people.
Helping people.
But there was a point that I hit where like literally I was like going to answer people, and I was like, man, I don't want to do this. And I was like, man, like, it was crazy because I was like, I don't want to do this. I still did it, and I pushed to do it, but I was like, man, I'm not as into it. And I realized that I've been kind of in that mode for a while. And the thing is, like, maybe if I had just taken time off and be like, yo, let me just like take a little bit of time off right now from like maybe like getting back to people and then get back into it like hard, I could like do that sustainably. But since I've been pushing to try to like catch up, it's actually been like just not sustainable. And I realized like that's a perfect kind of illustration of everything you just talked about. So I should probably take that into account.
Hello.
But
and just to go off of what you said there, because I think it's super important. It's something, because I had the same direct message problem. Not like, I absolutely love communicating with people, and I love sharing and hearing their stories and being there to help if someone needs help. But it does get time consuming, especially when you're traveling or editing videos and doing other things. But I think what happens is, like you said, if you feel that buildup, let go of what's no longer serving you. Don't let go of messaging people completely. Just be open and authentic with everyone online. Say, hey, I'm taking a break. Or, hey, what I said at ALC is I'm not going to be able to get back to everyone's messages. I love your kindness and support, but a couple days after ASC, I'll get back to you, you know, and then take that time for you. But what I found too is like batching your content, but this is a whole nother thing about scheduling and like, you know, take a half an hour in the morning and a half an hour at night, clear your inbox. If that's still something that you value most, is responding to DMs. Like if that's your thing, like I value that a lot, and being able to connect with people online, make that a priority. And when it becomes a priority, it's now essential. Because it's when you're working on the like trivial many instead of the essential few. When you're working on the trivial many and all these little things that like are tasks now and not something that you want to do, that's stressful. That takes time. But when it's what you want to do and you're focused on it, it gets a lot easier, especially when you're scheduling.
Yeah, makes sense. Cool, awesome. Well, thank you so much. Is there any quick last thoughts that you want to leave people with?
Quick last thoughts. I do more than just eat smoothie bowls. I do activism as well. Like I said, smoothie bowls make me like. Smoothie bowls and kombucha make me the happiest person. And what I talked about, and I talk about this always, and this is what I want to leave with people is, if self-care isn't your thing, if you're still thinking it's taboo, then don't call it self-care. Just call it.
That's gonna help. That's the tip that's gonna help me. You should have said this at the beginning, man.
Don't call it self-care. My friend told me that the reason why she doesn't want to watch or listen to some of my self-care stuff is because then she might have to accept the fact that she needs to take care of herself. But just call it taking a little time for you. Call it resting. Call it eating a smoothie bowl. Call it drinking a kombucha when you really want a kombucha. Call it hanging out with friends. Call it listening to music. Just focus on your perception of this world, your perception of yourself, and think of the end goal. Because if we truly want to make a bigger impact on this world, we've got to take better care of ourselves. So call it self-care, call it any of the things I talked about. Just change your perception on things and understand that it's okay. I want to normalize self-care. I guess maybe that's my goal right now. Normalize self-care to the fact that everyone is it's just natural. You wake up and you invest in yourself. You don't have to make every day 24/7 about you. Just take that time for you, a little bit here and there, and work on forging a positive mental attitude. PMA, positive mental attitude, mixed with self-care, is the secret to success. This is what I truly believe. That's how we are going to change the world. That's how we're going to change ourselves and evolve into just more conscious, more loving, and more compassionate beings.
Yeah, definitely. For me, the big takeaway is really not seeing self-care as a way to take away from what I'm doing, but rather to add to it, so that in the long term, so that I can like progressively over the long term become more effective and efficient. But anyways, there's
the bell.
There's the bell. So class is over, and thank you so much for watching this video. We appreciate it. Follow Joshua, you probably know who he is. But anyways, that's about it. Hope to talk to you real soon. Peace.
Much love.
I was standing by the bar and drinking slowly. You were hanging by the door and looking